All right, everyone, we're back. Make sure you check in, please. You either want full coffee or no coffee. You want half coffee? She cannot have all of it. All right. See, people treat you right over here. You get your CE credits and half coffee.
Don't mind there's a little coffee beans in the I don't know.
Always recruiting.
Always, man. One of my mentors says, prospect on purpose. Always. Doesn't matter where you do, always turn it into a sale somehow. But you know, I'm messing with you. Like, not trying to be pushy or anything. You know the right place for you to be. Your job is downstairs. You're up here. I live in Old Bridge. You live in Old Bridge. Just saying. See, I cannot recruit pre-licensing directly.
It's funny because I remember a lot of the class. No, I forget what you said exactly, so I don't want to say like I'm taking like words out of your mouth. But I remember
may or may not have said. Just
may or may not have said. May or may not have said something along the lines of like if I don't come to New Direction afterwards, like it's like you're gonna be upset. I remember that the whole class was like, oh, so we don't get a job here?
Oh yeah, true. Well, but you came to the school already.
Yeah, exactly.
Through an agent, so that's different.
Could work too for psychology.
It did. It did. Actually, one of the people that's joining us, she, her friend was the one that referred her to the school, right? But she went to work somewhere else. Guess where she could come into work now? So the one that's passing now is bringing her friend over.
Works like that.
Okay. No, but it's the rules. The rules is this: no school can directly recruit. It's not that I don't want people here. Obviously, I do, but
Yeah.
we cannot recruit. And even within the office, let's say the students, you cannot either do any type of advertising of recruiting until the rule is until 7 days after the course is completed.
Oh.
After
And
7
reach out,
days,
hey, do you have a
now you can reach out. Yes.
after 7 days?
Mhm. Yeah, that's why I mark on the calendar X. Just kidding. I don't. I never reach out to people at all about the recruiting thing. Like, people need to interview several places, make sure they're comfortable, whatever it is. That's pretty much it.
Mistakes.
Make some mistakes, yeah. Look, and we're not the agency. The real estate agency is not the agency for everybody, and not everybody's for the agency. Just like a Wiker, just like a Remax, it's not for everybody, right? Like you decided to move recently, right? So the previous agency, something changed, right? That's what you said, and it's no longer for you. It's just the way it is. All right, Wen says I checked you in.
Oh, you gotta check in again.
Every time, man. Listen, you better, Andrea, you better bring him here because I know he's not happy there. She's like waving back there. See me, see me. You guys remember the movie Shrek? I'm not comparing you to the donkey, but Eddie Murphy, the donkey, was jumping. Pick me, right? That was Andrea right now waving her hand. Best character of Shrek is Eddie Murphy, the donkey. Best character. 3. All right. Did everybody check in? Where's Susanna? Okay. Wendy, did you check the video I sent you? I sent you a video today. No? Okay. We have to go over them. So tomorrow there's no class, Wendy. So maybe tomorrow we can, with time, go over that. Okay. And Susanna is not here, so we're good. Andreas, come on, you're teasing me all the time. I am. I'm always messing with somebody, so don't worry. I don't bully everybody. I mean, I do. Everybody. All right, so everybody checked in. That's great. Let's go to the second part of agency. Close. Very close, but no. Jose says that's normal. There you go. All right, guys. So we're going to go into misrepresentation. So in the first half, we were talking about agency, the different types of agency. Okay. And we talked about the fiduciary duties or responsibilities that we have to our clients, right? And also to our clients and our customers. All right, and there's a big difference between these. A lot of realtors, salespeople, broker salespeople, and brokers, till today, whether you're in the business for 1 month or in the business for 10 years, a lot of brokers still don't understand the difference between the client and the customer. Sorry, they cannot explain it, right? But it is key that you understand, right? We talked about that. Now, in the second half, we're going to go into more disclosures. We're going to go into the actual business relationships we can enter into. But right now, we're going over misrepresentation. What is misrepresentation? When you represent something, is when you're making statements. Okay, you're making a statement. Like I'm saying, hey, this is an orange phone. Is this an orange phone? So that would be a misrepresentation. I told you that it's something that it's not. Does that make sense? So representation is a statement that we made, and we turned it into. Sorry, I ate a cookie and got the crumbs stuck. Sorry. So what was I saying? Misrepresentation. Okay, so misrepresentation is when you say something, it becomes material facts. That's what I was going to say. So misrepresentation is something we say that becomes material facts. Why? Because if I'm telling you this is orange, and you, without experience, if you did not know the color orange as an example, right, you are trusting me. And I told you this is orange. So same thing, for instance, you don't speak a language. What's the first thing people start teaching you when you don't know a language and you want to learn? The bad words. How do you say beautiful and you come up with something totally hideous? How do you say hi and you say it's something totally stupid, right? But if you don't know, right, you're going to fall into that prank. And then when you see somebody that's Portuguese or somebody that's Spanish or whatever, then you say those words thinking that that's what they mean, right? Good morning. And you're insulting them. That's misrepresentation. Fake information. Yeah. Fourth bedroom with no closet, so it's not considered a bedroom, right? Or you have 2 additional bedrooms in the basement or the attic, right? And so on. Oh, that. Okay. I'm glad you brought that. There's a lot of people that don't understand this. So since Wentz has mentioned this, basements do not count towards the square footage of the house unless they're considered legal units or legal space in the city hall. So everything goes back to what city hall says. I cannot make a statement, oh, this has 15, sorry to interrupt you. This has 1,500 square feet. And then you walk into the house and it's a little tiny house. How is it 1,500 square feet? Well, you have the full basement also. Basement does not count unless the city, right, gave a CO that says that the basement is considered living space. Okay? Unless City Hall says so. But it's in the plan for what? No, so for drawing purposes is one thing, right? For living space is another. A garage is a storage space. Do we count that as square footage? No. So the basement and the attic is the same as a garage. They don't count towards square footage. It's just available for machines. It's available for storage, but it's not available for living space. When we talk about square footage of a house, is the living space, what we can use to be in. Okay? So you have to check with City Hall always. So that would be misrepresentation if you say, hey, 1,500, including the basement, right? Does not count. All right. Jose A says, not saying the truth is misrepresentation. Yes. Jose E says fluffing. We're going to talk about fluffing in a little bit. Yeah. It's actually puffing, but we'll go with fluffing. It actually works as well. Whatever way you guys want to call it. But it's a whole lot of fluff. A lot of people say it like that. It's nothing, right? But puffing is when you enhance something, give it a value that it's not, right? You say, hey, the most beautiful house on the block, right? And it's not, right? So puffing is an opinion. Puffing is an opinion. It's just you expressing what you feel. For some people, so exaggerating, yes. For some people, puffing, right, is like, hey, this is the most beautiful house because I like to see the city. And from here, we can see the city, right? For other people like me, the most beautiful house or the best view in the world is the ocean. For me. For some people, is being in the middle of the wilds. And for some people, is the desert. Like, so that's based on opinions. That does not change the value of the house. You got it? Ocean, right? But that does not change the value of the house. It changes the perception of the house. That's different. Okay? So when we're talking about misrepresentation, is when you say something that it's not. Now, it's either intentional, that means you knew about it, and you're still making a statement that's erroneous, that's wrong, right? Or it's negligent. Negligent is something that you should have known. Okay? Negligent is something that you should have known. Meaning, you did not do your job. Sorry. All right, Lidiane just asked, how about a finished basement? You can have a finished attic. You can have a finished backyard. You can have 100 houses built in the backyard if they're not registered, in the, like the 4-family plus 2. If not, they're not registered in the city as living space. They do not count towards square footage. So finishing a basement, right, does not count towards square footage. Finishing an attic does not count towards square footage. Okay, you have to have a certificate from the city that states the actual square footage of the house. Period. Okay. All right. Next, misrepresentation of expertise. We already talked about this. That's you saying, well, the law says when you are not a lawyer. Okay? The law says when you are not a lawyer. If it's a fact, there's nothing wrong with stating it. But once it becomes an opinion, like me telling you right now that the law is, go to City Hall and find out what they have stated there. That's where you really find the facts of the house, right? That's a statement of something that could be searched everywhere. Giving my opinion on something. Hey, is this somebody forwarded me a contract recently. Bruno, what do you think about this contract? Is this a real contract? Is it a valid contract? Right? Well, it is a contract. There's information missing. So potentially it's not an enforceable contract if there's information missing. Oh, but my signature is there. Your signature might be there, but if the contract is not complete, then were you of sound mind when you signed it? Meaning, did you understand? Were you competent enough to understand it? Were you aware of the offer? Did you accept all the terms of it? Right? So if there's stuff missing, right, it's not a valid contract. But can I give that type of opinion? All I can say is it doesn't look like it is, but we should do what? consult a lawyer. Okay? How would you have a question? So, for instance, here's an example. So the question could be this. An agent represents that property will appreciate. Okay? The buyer interprets this as expert investment advice and buys the property. If the property does not appreciate later on, and this will come the question, if the property does not appreciate later on, if it actually loses value, what is this called? That could be the question, just like that, right? So at this moment, you know that this is a misrepresentation of expertise, and that will be the answer. Simple. This is exactly how the questions go in the state exam. They'll give you some type of scenario, and then they give you 4 options, and you just have to pick the best. Okay? All right. As far as misrepresentation, Wendy was saying a couple days ago, was saying that in New York, for instance, some basements are rented, right? When I was talking about you can't rent basements because of carbon monoxide, because of radon, and also because it's a fire hazard if you don't have any way to escape, right? So as a realtor, right, and as a salesperson, as an agent representing somebody, or just as a salesperson, not representing, but in the profession, I have to state that, yeah, some basements are rented. But it all goes back to what City Hall says. If it's a legal basement or not. It's not my field. I cannot make a representation of something that I do not know. An agent a couple of days ago listed a property and goes like, well, it's a 2-family, but you can build another apartment on top of the garage in the back. It's a detached garage. You can build another apartment. So it's a similar scenario. And I'm like, did you check that with City Hall already? Listen, I know, because over there, that one did it. Look at that. Look at that house over there. I'm like, so, okay.
This thing's Seaport?
No, this is Hillside. So if that neighbor over there jumps off a bridge, this one should jump too? That makes it legal? It's the same situation. Like when people ask you when you're growing up, hey, so if your friend jumps off a bridge, you're going to jump too? Right? Here's the same thing. Just because your neighbor did it doesn't mean it's legal. Okay? So let's go to City Hall. Let's look at the building department and ask what this is approved for. What's the zoning? What's the current structure that they have registered? Right? One of my agents just closed on a property that was sold to the seller as a 2-family. They sign off on everything as a 2-family. He's now selling it, right? So he bought it as a 2-family. He's now selling it. And we come to find out that in the city is registered as a 1-family. He rehabbed the whole thing. They got permits as a 2-family. Water is listed as a 2-family. Taxes are listed as a 2-family. But building, the CO registers it as a 1-family. Can I make any statement? No. The only way for you guys to really make statements is when you have the facts in front of you. According to the city, this is a 2-family. According to the taxes, this is a 2-family. According to, like when you have the facts in front of you, it's not misrepresentation, right? It's not misrepresentation because you're saying what it is. It's not like, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. Turn it into a 10-family if you want. What if it's zoned for single families only? All right? So misrepresentation of expertise. So with that being said, the next page, it says an agent is liable for a breach of duty to a client or customer. Since clients and customers rely on the expertise and actions of the agents performing within the scope of their authority, regulatory agencies and courts aggressively enforce agency laws, standards, and regulations. Wendy says, renting basement here in New York is something normal. Wendy, here in New Jersey as well. Doesn't mean that it's legal. Being normal is one thing, being legal is another. Yeah. Listen. Garage bed. There's a couple of properties here in Newark and in Elizabeth. They have like you know, the bunk beds usually are like 2 floors, right? There's 2 houses from the same owner. They got the triplet one, and there's 2 of those in every single bedroom, and they're renting it to flight attendants, like rooming houses, crash pads. A lot of money, but illegal. Very illegal. Right? How do we find out that it's illegal? When we're about to close and they say, we got to move everything to storage. Like, what do you mean? Well, the inspection is going to come. So wait a minute. My client is buying a house because it brings $7,000 or $8,000 in income, and you're putting everything in storage before the inspection because if they catch you with this, right, it's fines. So there's misrepresentation. Tell me up front that the money you're declaring on the listing is illegal money. Or put the real money with more potential. I mean, whatever. But explain that needs to be registered.
They don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
the agent.
Can the agent get in trouble? Yeah, the agent can always get in trouble. Mm-hmm. Hold on, I'm just looking for something I need to share with you guys. Look, the income is the stated income. Yes, provided that it's legal. If it's not legal, then sorry. Where did I put it?
Especially in the properties.
Mm-hmm.
You go based off rent roll.
Correct.
That's not legal.
If it's not legal, then that's not part of the rent roll. All right. With that being said, we're going to watch a quick video. What is it?
The bunk beds are already crash pad.
$35 a month.
I didn't have to search for it. They made it what? Here's what'll happen. People ask you this, so tell
Can you
me,
guys hear it?
if I buy this short sale, do you think that I'll get at least 20 or 30% equity? That's a great question. Let's do this.
Can you hear it?
Let's ask the appraiser that question, and then they can let you know about the equity and how much equity you have in a property. Everybody raise your right hand. Go like this. Turn to the person next to you and say, it's not my monkey. Let me tell you how serious I am about the monkey. If this is all you get out of this class, it will change your life. Your life. At least 2 or 3 times a day, I'll say to myself, it's not my monkey. That is not my monkey. I taught a class in Alaska. When I checked into the hotel, they gave me a sheet of paper, and they said, Mr. Watson, you need to read this. So I started reading it, and you know what it said? It tells you what to do if you're approached by a charging bear. I looked at it, I said, well, why are you giving me this? They said, well, the way our property's set up is you're going to have to go down a trail to get to your cabin. And on that trail, a couple weeks ago, someone was mauled by a bear. And this tells you what to do if you're approached by a bear. And you know what it said to do? It said if a bear charges you, make yourself look as big, as imposing as possible. To a bear. A bear. And it said if the bear keeps charging, that doesn't work. Cover up all your vital organs is what you should do. Roll up and play dead. That is the best thing to do. And it said in big letters on the paper, if while playing dead, the bear starts to maul you, do not scream. said, sir, step into my common sense corner here. I'm being mauled by a bear, and you're telling me to not scream? He said, what happens if you scream, now it becomes territorial, and the bear is probably going to have to finish you off. I looked at him, I said, this is not my monkey. This is not my monkey. This is a security issue. You need to have snipers on the trees with rifles, period. That's what needs to happen. I said, and let me tell you what's going to happen. One of your representatives is going to take me to my room. They are going in first. Once I get the all clear, then I am going in. As far as I'm concerned, this mauling is totally avoidable.
So, if you guys understood, everything that we've been talking about is you cannot give advice in something that's not your field, right? So think about this. It's not my monkey. So if people say, well, we'll disappraise. If you're not an appraiser, how can you give that advice? All you can say is that, hey, based on current market values and current properties that sold recently, I don't see why not. But we got to wait for the appraisal. Simple. Simple as that. Well, do you think it's legal to do this or legal to do that? Look, as far as I know, it's not, but let's ask the attorney. Not my monkey. Don't take on that pressure, okay? The moment you take that on and you say something that it's not, but they take action based on what you said, then they are relying on you, the expert. You guys understand that? They gave you that, and you took it. So now you're the one responsible for their actions. Okay? Not my monkey. Make sure you always say attorney. Okay? Loan officer. City inspector. Okay? Home inspector. Appraiser. Let's ask the seller. Right? So always, like I know growing up, we were told not to point fingers, right? Now is the time. I'm giving you guys, you're all adults. I'm giving you guys, it's okay to point fingers. In fact, make sure you do. The seller told me that there's no issues with the house. Who knows the house better than the seller? I sure as hell don't. Okay? Sorry, not hell. H-E double hockey sticks. We're live. Anyway, so I'm not the one that knows the house. The loan officer said that you were approved for a $400,000 house. And then you're not. What do you want me to do? The loan officer said it, not me. Don't blame me. I even told you to look for houses below what you're approved. Like some people are kings of stretching that approval. 500,000 is what you're approved. We're going to look for $600,000 houses. Like, come on. You're approved for 500. Let's look for $400,000 houses. Make sure you're comfortable and you never, and you'll never suffer for lack of payment or lack of a job or getting sick and you can't afford it, right? But if the agent said you're approved, the loan officer said you're approved, then you're approved. Not me. Not my monkey. This is key. Jose E says deflect. Yeah, that's it. Right? Not me. Get it out of the way. Not me. Don't point that question at me. Okay? And some people get rude at you. Some like sellers, they go like, what am I paying you for then? Well, you're paying me to know the process and the right people to contact. That's it. That's what you're paying me for, to represent you and market the property to the best of my ability and connect you to the right people to help this transaction be smooth. That's what you're paying me for. And you're also paying me to be your psychologist. So this bill is a lot cheaper than you can expect. Because I'm the one hearing all your problems. I'm the one that's trying to minimize or mitigate the damage. Not anybody else. So yeah, I get paid the big bucks, better than any other professional in the transaction. But I'm also the coach. I'm the one putting it all together. Oh yeah. Oh, attorneys pull that one all the time. I actually mentioned that to one of our agents today. attorneys sometimes they're envious that or jealous that we make more money than they do in a transaction. They make like 1,500, who make 10,000. And hey, get your real estate license as well. Simple. Oh, but you don't have a degree. I worked hard to have this degree and be an attorney. Like, okay, get a real estate license as well. No, it's not the wrong field, right? Because also, if you're going to represent me in court for a car accident or another lawsuit, right, you'll make way more money than I do. I won a lawsuit against a car dealer. I made $17,000. My attorney made $17,000 almost. So he took 50% of what I was supposed to receive. And I'm like, I don't care. My car got paid off because we won. I didn't complain about your fees, right? So don't complain about mine. That's just what it is.
And even with real estate, they got way more going on at a time.
Correct. Yeah. So anyway, people just like to, like, oh, you're making money, you're being successful, right? Let me drag you down. Sucks. Jose A goes like, what if they lie and they say the agent said? Very good. I like the way you try to cover all the angles, my friend. I love it. So this is why, and we're going to talk about this in risk management, the different chapter. This is why you have to put everything in writing. A lot of people have verbal conversations, right? Because there's written conversations. Follow up with an email that says, hey, per our conversation, this, that, and that. The moment you said per our conversation and they never replied to it saying, no, that's not what I said, silence is acquiescence. So if I made a statement and you did not dispute it, then you acknowledge that this statement is true. Same thing as collection companies. When they send you a bill saying, hey, remember where you were in the hospital back in the year 1905? Here's a bill from the hospital. And you're like, I'm not even that old, right? You're like, that's not my bill, but I was in a hospital, so it is possible. Is it my bill? Right? If you don't dispute, it says right there, you got 30 days to dispute this. If you don't, then this is proof that you owe the money. And that's what they go with. So you might not owe money at all, but the moment you don't dispute, it becomes a statement. So this is what I'm telling you guys, just like Jose just wrote, document everything. Okay? If they tell you, well, the agent said, well, let me go back to our emails.
That's why when I'm
Text message.
when I'm dealing with other dispatchers for people know them because I had issues had that broke down and email. Spoke to the driver. I didn't say that.
There you go. It was the driver, it wasn't me. Well, you want me to tell you how I won the lawsuit against the car dealer? Okay. As soon as I realized I had a case because of what they were doing, I wrote everything down. And then when I went to the attorney and the attorney goes like, you know you're going to have to go for a deposition and this and that, whatever. I'm like, okay. So could you please prepare a statement of everything that happened? What do you remember? To the best of your ability, what do you remember? And I said, well, give me 2 seconds. It's in your email. He looks at it, opens it, goes like, wow, you even got the times. You got the names. I say, yeah. That was it. So it is by memory. But you have to write down right away. So if I finish a phone conversation with you, right, immediately send me a message. Bruno, for our phone conversation, this is what it is. That's it. A lot of people might get upset, like, well, we just talked about it. Why are you sending me an email right now, like 2 seconds later?
Same thing with me.
I don't care.
Dispatchers, I email them. Oh,
Do it.
This is the rate we talked about. You're like, oh, yeah, no, it is, and that's it. That's what we're talking about.
So it's kind of like I'd rather have the umbrella and not need it and not have it.
I don't like umbrellas, but yes, I'd rather have the umbrella and not need it than need it and not have it. Yes. This is pretty much what it is. Right? What does this mean? Anybody knows? I'm sorry? What'd you say?
He says, see you.
It says see ya. Rob, you said the same thing he said, and you put in capital letters.
Cover your assets.
I never heard of anybody suing your behind. If that's what you have to pay with, man. Assets. Assets, people. Assets. Because when they sue for your house, for your money, for your car. No hospital or no collection company ever said, if you don't pay, I want your behind over here. No one. They said, I want money. These people. It's an American problem, though. It's an American problem. I've noticed that from British English to American English, we cut stuff in half. So in America, they just decided to take that out, right? Seriously.
In British, they're more polite.
They're more polite in Britain. Anyway. Jose E. on YouTube says, create an audit trail. Keep a log of everything that happens from initial contact through closing. Correct. Keep a log of everything. Take notes. Oh, but Bruno, I got to write everything. No. Speak to your phone. Your phone will write everything for you. All right? If you don't have a Google phone that has a transcribe option where we're talking and it's already recording, like transcribing everything we're saying, I'm pretty sure Siri also has an option like that. Okay? If not, I'm pretty sure there's an app you can pay for.
Sometimes you miss calls, you just go and correct that one.
Can you just make a voice memo?
You can make a voice memo, yes, but then you have to remember to check the voice memo. Where transcribed, I can just forward it to you. This is our conversation. And mine is just, it's a simple click on the phone, it starts transcribing everything we're saying right now. Simple. Anyway. Cover your assets. All right. Real quick, so we can finalize this chapter. This is another thing that's very important to understand, which is single agency, sub-agency, we're going to skip for now. Okay, I'll explain about it in a different chapter. Dual agency, and no sub-agency. Anything sub-agency, I'm going to skip for now. So what we're going to talk about over the next few minutes is single, dual, and no agency. So with that being said, guys, what does agency mean?
Broker and the employer and employee.
Employer-employee relationship, yes. But you just said broker. Broker and who?
Could be broker and salesperson.
Client. Okay, broker and the client. Thank you. So broker and the client. Okay, but yes, it could be on the salesperson as well, but it's a different chapter. So I want to focus on clients or customers. Okay, so agency is employer-employee relationship. Who's your employer? The client, the principal, whoever hired you. Okay, so if we're talking about single agency, means you represent one side, either the seller or the buyer, either the landlord or the tenant, right? If it's dual agency, means you represent both sides. You represent the seller and the buyer, or you represent the landlord and the tenant, right? But dual agency is illegal. I'm going to explain better in a second. There's a way to make it legal, but it's traditionally illegal. What about no agency? What'd you say?
And a headache.
And a headache, yep. What about no agency?
Still by
For no agency is for sale by owner? Because they didn't hire you? That's an unrepresented sale, yes. But they're also not your client or your customer. You did not get hired. But you're still helping them.
Consulting with the client.
Consulting with a client, no agency. If it's for sale by owner, you're not helping them in any way, shape, or form. You're not part of the transaction. So when we talk about agency, is being part of the transaction somehow, either representing one party, representing both parties, or not representing either, but still helping with the transaction, facilitating the transaction, okay? So, transaction only, just brokering, got it. All right. This is very, very important. There's a bunch of scenarios that are given to you in the state exam. I don't know if you remember this, but there's a bunch of scenarios given to you in the state exam. Like I gave you the example before of the listing agent, and then the buyer shows up at the open house. What are your duties? So before you start representing somebody or working with somebody, you must explain to them what type of agency relationships exist and what people can expect of you. If they're customers, you have to let them know, like I told you, hey, buyer, you just told me you have more money, but I don't represent you. So anything you say, I will have to tell the other party who I represent. Don't you think it's fair that the buyer is aware that whatever they're saying, you're going to present to them? And it could affect their negotiating capacity or power? So yeah, we have to disclose. So the primary forms of agency relationship between brokers and principals are single agency, dual agency, and sub-agency. But there is a fourth kind of relationship called transaction brokerage. And with transaction brokerage, no agency relationship exists. All right? The reason why I'm skipping sub-agency, it says right here, some states are beginning to disallow sub-agency altogether. So we're just going to skip it regardless. Right now, it's not important. I'll address that when we are in the state portion and talk about sub-agency there. Okay? All right, so here we have all the single agents, right? By Beyonce. No, you didn't even hear it. You never heard a song? All the single agents. Never heard that song? All right, agents. She's in real estate. You did not know that. So, single agents. Single agents, you represent one party in the transaction. We got that. This is the easiest one. So, if you are a seller agent, who's your principal? The seller. If you're a buyer's agent, who's your principal? The buyer. Simple as that. Now, the real estate vernacular calls an agent of the seller the listing broker. So listing, you are a seller broker. While the agent of the buyer is the buyer's broker. But there's also another name for buyer's broker that you're going to see later on. Okay? And that's the selling, well, broker. It says broker here. Okay. So in the book, you're going to see several times, and in the state exam, you're going to see several times, selling broker and listing broker. The selling broker is the one that brings the buyer and accomplishes the sale. So he's the one selling. The listing broker represents the seller. So all they're doing is marketing. Hey, I have this for sale. If you guys have a buyer, please bring it to me. Right? So am I the selling agent? I'm not selling anything. It's just marketed. Once you bring a buyer, you're the one selling to your buyer the house that you found on the market. Okay? So it's like going to Walmart or going to ShopRite or going to a retail store, a clothing store. They have different brands there, right, of things, right? Who's the seller? Who's the listing agent? Who's the buying agent, right? So the seller is, for instance, in this case, Samsung, right? Who's the agent? Once they put it on the market, right, the agent is Walmart, for instance, okay? But then if I walk in with you and I say, hey, Pollyanna, this is a great phone. It's the best camera on the market. In fact, you no longer need a digital camera. You can rely just on your phone. So it becomes all-in-one tool, right? this is the phone you should buy. Who is the one causing the sale to happen? We call this procuring cause. Who's the one causing the sale to happen? Is it Walmart? No, they just have it in display. Who's causing the sale to happen? Who's marketing it for you? The employee. So they are the one effectively making the sale. And this is why Walmart and a few others, they give a commission for every sale you make. You guys understand? So they're paying you. Here's the listing of a phone. If you accomplish a sale, you get 1% of every single electronics that's sold here. Or 2% if it's phones, or 3% if it's a laptop, whatever. Just putting it out there. But they didn't have a Metro phone.
They had Metro.
Okay. And you were representing the other brands you're selling. Okay, there you go. Okay. So for a lot of people, it gets confusing when you're reading the question in the state exam because of that. When you think selling broker, you think they represent the seller. No.
The broker represents Walmart.
Accomplishing, no. Whoever represents Walmart, Walmart is representing the seller. They're representing Samsung. Walmart would be the listing broker. They're just putting, they're just putting the property for sale. The selling agent is the one that accomplishes the sale. So if I bring because you can put it on the market, right? You can put it on the market. Just being on the market, it does not sell. Somebody needs to bring a buyer. That's why the selling broker is the one that brings the buyer. He's the procuring cause.
So you always work.
I can work next to somebody. Yes. All right, let's talk about dual agency. I told you that dual agency. I know. No, because then those things happen. So dual agency is illegal. Did I tell you that? I did? Yes. Why is dual agency illegal? Who can tell me that?
Can't have nobody's best.
You cannot have anybody's best interest. But why is it illegal? Because there's a conflict of interest. Great. So can we represent both parties?
Yes.
We can, but I just told you it's illegal. So how can we represent both parties?
Very sensitive.
Disclosure. So, disclosed dual agency is legal. If it's undisclosed, there's a conflict of interest. There's a conflict of interest, right? Then you're not protecting one side more than you're protecting the other. You just care about yourself because you're making the money from both sides. So, can a seller say, hey, Bruno, I don't want you to represent anybody else but me? Yes, they can. But for them to say that, they need to be aware of the complications of dual agency. So, dual agency means you're representing both parties to a transaction. The agent represents both the seller and the buyer, or the tenant and the landlord. If the salesperson completes a buyer agency agreement with a party on behalf of a broker, the party then becomes interested in a property listed by the broker. The broker becomes a dual agent. Because remember, it's not you, it's your broker. So if you represent the seller, I represent the buyer, but we're under the same brokerage, what is that called? Dual agency. Oh, but I don't represent the other side. Why do I have to disclose? Because the agreement is between the client and the broker, not the salesperson. Okay? Now, dual agency has become increasingly prevalent with advent of a buyer and tenant representation. Dual agency may arise from voluntary specific agreement between the parties or from the parties' actions, much like implied single agency. The problem is conflict of interest, as we just went over, right? It is difficult, but not impossible. So the key put this right here, put stars, asterisks, whatever you want, okay? This is very, very important. This is the key. Some states allow you to represent both sides as long as you put it in writing. In writing. So make it disclosed. If it's disclosed, then it becomes voluntary. That means the seller is aware you represent the buyer, and the buyer is aware you represent the seller, and they are okay with it. Okay? Because you disclosed it, and they did not oppose to it. Okay? Voluntary. It's not hidden. Because if something's hidden from me, my actions are involuntary. I was not aware. Okay? So very, very, very important. Make sure you put all these notes here. Stars, asterisks, whatever you have to do. Okay? All right? Good? All right. So, next. What? Andrea M says KW does that? Keller Williams? If they do that, everybody does it. There's nothing wrong about being a dual agent, representing both sides, if you disclose. That's why I said dual agency is illegal if you do not disclose. The seller must be aware that you represent the other side as well, and that anything they say, right, is not protected 100%. That you are not going to fight for the highest value, right? Or if you're fighting for the lowest value. You're still keeping things confidential. You're not disclosing things, but you're not fighting more to one side or to the other. You're neutral. Yeah. I'm still going to represent you to the best of my ability, go above and beyond, except for a couple of things, right? So, duties of a disclosal agent. It says right here, a dual agent's first duty is to disclose the agency relationship to both principal parties, or to withdraw from one side of the duality. And after disclosing, the agent must obtain the written consent of both parties. If both parties accept the dual agency, the agent owes all fiduciary duties to both parties, except full disclosure, undivided loyalty, exclusive representation of one of the principal's interests. I cannot be loyal to just one side. I have to be loyal to both. So if you tell me you got more money, I'm not going to tell the seller, right? If the seller tells me they're going through a divorce, I'm not going to tell the buyer. You're not getting your license. I'm letting you know right now.
Bruno, don't say that, please.
If I feel that any of you is dangerous to society, you're not getting your license.
I'm already working at dispatch. I do it brokers all the time already.
Different brokers.
I know, but still.
And it's business to business. This is consumer. The laws for, like, if you're dealing with commercial properties, right? If you're dealing with commercial properties, everything is game. Like, there's no sensitivity when it comes to representation.
Much complicated.
But when you deal with directly with residential, ordinary people, right? John Legend over here. So yeah, I'm terrible. I started already thinking about the song and a bunch of other things. I'm bad. You're just ordinary people, okay?
You're gonna want me in your field.
I don't know anymore if I want you in my field.
Listen, I was fighting for my boss today over last $40 just to save on his pocket. That's how loyal I am.
Great.
Disclose to agency. You can't.
See,
That
if you represent both sides, you cannot be fighting for $40.
Both sides. I was just presenting him. That's it.
There you go. If you represent the seller, if you represent the buyer, you can pull for the best price. Okay. What about no agency? We already talked about agency being employer-employee relationship. So if no agency means we don't represent either party, right? No agency. You're not hired. Mm-hmm. You are a transaction facilitator only. I'm going to explain that in a second. So you are a facilitator only. All right, think about it this way. If you go to, let's say, apply for your green card or apply for citizenship, a lot of people go to attorneys, right? Now, an attorney represents you. They fill out the paperwork and they represent you when they go to immigration with you, right? You guys know that there's agencies out there that prepare documentation for you, right? So, no, guaranteed cheaper than a lawyer, but it doesn't come with representation. In fact, they all say, hey, we're not responsible for the outcome of this paperwork. We're just preparing it for you, filling information that you gave us. If you qualify, stop. If you qualify, or if you don't qualify, that's up to you. You should have done your part. My part is just preparing documents, and I'm charging $500, $600, $700 for it. If you want representation, go find a lawyer. They're going to charge you $5,000 or $6,000 for it. But they're on your side. Me, I'm just helping you prepare the paperwork, right? So when it's a no agency, we are just helping them prepare the paperwork. We're opening doors. But we are not making any type of representation. You guys understand? I'm not pulling towards your side or the other side. I'm facilitating the transaction. Okay? And you're probably like thinking, well, but wait, if you're, I could do this myself. Yeah, go ahead. Fill out the paperwork for immigration yourself. Some people are going to be successful. Other people are going to file the wrong papers. Simple. Right? That's what it is. Andrea, that's not a contract? Yeah, it is. But it's not a representation contract. It's me stating specifically that I don't represent you. Okay? So, therefore, I do not advocate the interests of either party. So we have to put on paper that I'm a transaction broker. That's what it's called, transaction broker. Okay, I have to put on paper. This way you don't expect anything from me other than account for all the money and property received. So yes, you gave me money for down payment and I pass it along. Exercise reasonable skill and care, so I don't have to go above and beyond. I have to provide honest and fair dealing. That's it. Present all offers in a timely fashion, assist the parties in closing the transaction, keep the parties fully informed, advise the parties to obtain expert advice or counsel, disclose to both parties in residential sales transactions all material facts affecting the property value, and protect the confidences of both parties in matters that would materially disadvantage one party over another. So as a transaction broker, or facilitator, there's no agency. All we're doing, again, is facilitating, preparing stuff, accounting the money, helping you figure out how much money you need and all that stuff. But do I represent you? No. Since there's no fiduciary duties, the broker is held to the standards of dealing with customers as opposed to clients. So when you're a transaction broker, I don't represent you. So everybody's a customer to me. That means I just have to be honest, fair dealing with you, and reasonable care, not above and beyond. I'm in no obligation to inspect the property for the benefit of a party or verify accuracy of statements made by the party. Seller says the house has 10 rooms. I don't have to count the rooms. Simple. Seller says that it's legal to have people in the basement. As a transaction broker, I don't have to check if it's legal with City Hall or anything like that. I don't have to. So as a transaction broker, we still get paid, right? We still move forward. It's still a contract. But I'm clearly telling you that my interest in this transaction is the transaction itself. I will help you accomplish the same goal, but I do not represent you. Okay? Yes, we still get paid. Still get paid a commission. We don't only fill in the blanks, I'm also opening the doors for you. I'm also opening the door for the inspector. I'm also getting the mortgage company. I get everybody involved the same way, right? But I'm not pulling towards your side. I'm not representing you. It's a matter of liability. That's what it is. So if I represent the buyer, I'm fully liable for my actions, right? If I don't represent the buyer to the best of his or her interests, I'm liable for my actions. If I'm a transaction broker, my liability was just reduced to, did you disclose the stuff you're supposed to disclose? And that's it. I'm not required to negotiate anything. I'm just submitting stuff. So I have no fiduciary, correct? I have no fiduciary duties when it's a transaction broker, okay? So again, this is another thing that must be put in writing. All right, last 2 pages. We're almost done. Going as slow as I can because this chapter is that important.
Yeah, on the state test. Excellent.
I know. Look, my school test, I put the same weight on each chapter as the state exam is. So when you go to the school test, the majority of the questions are the same, meaning 20% of them are based on agency, right? There's like 8 questions that are based on appraisals. There's like 2 questions that are based on leases, for instance.
Yeah.
So whatever the state exam has, as far as weight on the state exam, it's the same thing that I put school test.
I have 30 chapters, but one chapter I was not here for was chapter 11. Most of my questions.
You missed the exam by how many points? You had 64, right?
I had 60. I think 61 point something percent.
I think it was 64.
Was it?
I think so. But anyway, so he missed like by like 11 or 12 points. That's what he missed. And he goes like, Bruno, I checked the results. And the questions that I failed the most were from the exam. Right, Katya? You checking the exam on your phone?
No.
Okay. Phone's away.
Sorry.
So the most of the questions that he failed was based on the test that he was not in the chapter he was not here for, which is this chapter today.
61.8.
That's what you got? Okay. There you go. Andrea M goes like, is that Sebastian? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. That's Sebastian. You can hear him? There you go. She recognizes him. For those of you that do not know Sebastian, okay, Andrea took some time off, forced time off, and now she's covering in this class, but they're both from the previous class, okay? So that's what it is. So they don't think like, oh, Sebastian is always there. My life is ruined. I'm never going to pass this.
If he missed by 11 points, I'm never going to do it.
Jose A says, I missed by 4 points. There you go. And you know which chapters you missed, right? I think we went over a couple of that information, yeah. Philip, stop arguing, man. It's not worth it. Okay? Be a Virgo. Don't argue. Walk away and then hit him with the facts. That's what I do. I don't argue, I just present facts. It's way easier. Oh, kaboom. Yeah. That's why a lot of people don't argue with me. Not that it's not being superior, it has nothing to do with that. It's just that I'm not one of those people. You know how people like burst, right? And they're like, oh, they explode and just say whatever. I'm not. I hold it in. I think about it. I prepare my argument. I come back, present the argument. What do you have to say now? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Unfortunately, most of the times I'm not. Because I had time to think versus just putting it out there. Jose wrote appraisal and some others. So that's chapter 16. We're going to come up to that pretty soon. All right, agency disclosures. What are the objectives of disclosures? Okay. Pretty much, this is the objective. To remove confusion about who the agent is working for. Why do we have to disclose? Mainly to remove confusion or conflicts of interest or misrepresentations. Okay? So, specifically, the requirement aims to notify clients and customers about whom the agent represents. Inform clients and customers of the fiduciary duties and standards of care that the agent owes them. Inform prospective clients and customers that they have a choice. A lot of people don't understand this and how they're represented. A lot of people, they don't even know that there are options because realtors don't know how to explain this, believe it or not.
Option.
The representation. A lot of sellers don't know that they have the option to say, no, I don't want you representing the buyer. You're my agent, not the buyer's agent.
Or is it that you're doing?
Correct. That's why there's a form that we'll talk about. There's a form that must be disclosed up front. They must be aware up front of the potential agency relationships. Okay? They have to. It's the first document provided, first disclosure provided, as soon as they show some intent or motivation to buy or sell a property. Okay? Here in New Jersey, we call it CIS, Consumer Information Statement. You don't have to write this down yet, because we have this later. But it's called Consumer Information Statement, which all agents provide, right? Say yes.
Yeah.
Say aloud so they can hear you, agent.
Yes.
Driving?
Was that yes or CIS? C. CIS.
Yes. Okay.
You have to. Nobody does it, unfortunately. No, you're laughing, but that's. I'll tell you what the reality is.
Nobody does.
Nobody does it, but I'll tell you why. Because they don't know how to explain specifically transaction broker. Everybody wants to be a transaction broker, so they reduce the liability, but they don't know how to explain it. So instead, brokers are telling the agents, hey, just have them sign, not date. What do you mean not date? Well, after they sign, then you put the date like 2 weeks ago. A lot of brokers are teaching you this. Isn't that fraud in itself? All right. Must disclose. All right. You leaving? You can step in. You can step in for a second. Because yesterday you stepped into the Zoom class. Today you step into the real class.
Oh, yes.
All right. Right now everybody's seeing you.
Class.
Yeah, no, they're not seeing it. All right.
Good luck, everyone. Enjoy the class.
Thank you.
Sonia.
Bye, Sonia. These agents can't get enough of the class. Jose, lawsuit waiting to happen. Absolutely. Absolutely. So not disclosing this stuff and then backdating documents, that is fraud in itself. The lawsuit's waiting to happen. Now, recent legislation requires an agent to disclose to all parties the fact that the agent represents one party and does not represent the other. In other words, the agent must inform the client and customer that the agent represents the client and does not represent the customer, unless it's a dual agency. So what I said before, if somebody shows up in an open house and you're the listing agent, all you have to say is, hey, anything you say before you open your mouth about buying a house, before I ask you how much money you got and all that stuff, putting in an offer, anything you say can and will be used, right? Now, if you are represented or if you choose to be represented, your information is going to be confidential. So we have to disclose who's the client, who's the customer. Okay? Covered. Buyer agents disclosures. We just said all that. as far as dual agent disclosures, you got to make sure they have written informed consent. Now, what are the prohibited disclosures? This is where I want to focus for a second. This is the last page, guys, so I'm going to let you go early so you can think about agency. What are the prohibited disclosures? What you cannot say or do when you represent both sides. Very important. We can't negotiate. So we cannot say that to the buyer that the seller will accept less than the listed price. You cannot tell the seller that the buyer will pay more than the submitted written offer, right? You cannot disclose the motivation that the party has, right? Oh, divorce, relocation, right? We cannot do that. Just won the lottery. There you go. Those millions. The seller or buyer, was that you disclosing something? Like subliminal disclosure type of thing? You just won the lottery? Come on, man. I had already a million plans in my mind in the last 2 seconds, like blah, blah, blah. That's the first thing you would do with the millions, fix the elevator. Absolutely. That's exactly what I thought when I was looking at the 300-some million that I was going to win. That's exactly what I thought. If I had those millions, I would fix the elevator at the building. Nothing else. All right. That the seller will agree to financing terms other than those offered. So we cannot disclose this stuff. When you represent both parties, you cannot disclose this stuff. Okay? That's it, guys. We're going to repeat all this over the next few chapters. So I'm going to ask you a million times. What are business relationships? What is agency relationships? What type of agency relationships we have? This is going to go over so many times when we talk about listings, when we talk about contracts again. Repeating. All right, Philip. 90% of the class is new. So you know, I saw your comments. Just letting you know, 90% of the class is new. We only have somebody doing CE credits, right? And we got 1, 2, 3 people doing this either a second time or completing from the previous session. That's all. Rob De Silva says, if the builder and seller are related, do they have to disclose that as well? So, if the builder and the seller are related, if you're a realtor and related to the seller, you have to disclose that. If you're the builder, you have to disclose that. If you're the seller, you have to disclose that. That the builder and the seller are related,
No.
not a requirement. Sorry?
If you're the cousin, yeah.
If you, the agent, are somehow related to the transaction, you have to disclose. If you have an interest in the transaction, like you're selling the church that you go to, then you have to explain that that's the church you go to, right? There's a conflict of interest there. Yes.
Those are very good.
Yeah, so I always recommend you guys go through this stuff and then the questions there are in the student portal, right?
Because sometimes little questions that of the test, the review test, it's right here.
Yep, that's it. Any questions, guys? You already put everything away, man? Always the same. Speedy Gonzalez over here. Female realtor told me that, well, I don't know why female realtor has to be here.
Interesting.
Right? Female realtor told me that the builder is like her brother, when in fact, like her brother, when in fact they are siblings. Okay. Is a female realtor the one that I know that recommended you here? No. Okay, good. Because she was my student, and I would just, yell at her right now. Yeah. You have to disclose if you, as the realtor, have a relationship somehow with that person. All right. Andrea M. Wrong, still. I already mentioned what it was, by the way. You just didn't hear it. Anyway, guys, if there's any interest in the transaction, that's all you got to disclose. If there's no interest, doesn't matter. Any questions? You're out the door, Eric. Questions? You're good. Elsie, good. Katya's out the door too. What do you feel about the CU credits? Was good?
Chapter. I have no idea.
Yeah. You like the technology and stuff?
All the chapters, this is my favorite.
This is your favorite
For
chapter.
the third time, I actually understood.
For the third time, you actually understood. Philip, so you feel better? Third time because she keeps on taking breaks.
Listen to me.
You actually never completed a whole class. You always
No,
missed
because,
a bunch of stuff.
You know, yeah, life, you know,
Yeah, life. Yeah, I know.
keeps happening. I can't complain.
Now you did a good thing. You're gonna have some time off. You decided to settle down.
What time off with who?
Just messing with you.
I wish.
All right, guys.
Not in my life, okay.
You have a great weekend. Make sure you guys study this, please. I will see you on Monday. All right, no, I'll see you still this week.
Like Thursday
Okay.
and Friday off.
All right.
You know, when I get used
Have a
to
great
it.
weekend. Terrible.
When I start to get used to Monday.